So, my favorite commercial on TV right now, it's been on TV for a while, probably won't be on there much longer. That commercial with the ice cream, and instead of saying whoop, there it is, it's saying scoop, there it is. Chaka laka, scoop, sprinkles. I love that commercial. I don't even know what they sell in that commercial. I know the song, but tag team is great. And that's what I'm going to talk about today. So, obviously, tag teams is a wrestling topic as opposed to a straight riding topic, but we double back. So, today I'm going to talk about how tag team wrestling can relate to writing the way we do. Now, so for the uninitiated, tag teams are basically two people on one side and two people on the other side. There's a tag team wrestling match. Now, teams themselves, they come in a couple of different forms, and usually there will be just the two people, but there are a few variations of three people where two people are doing the fighting. So you could have three fighters and they just take turns pairing off. So you have three guys. Sometimes guy number one and two will fight. Sometimes guy number one and three will team up and fight, or sometimes two and three. And then the third guy will just be at ringside. That's and then there's also I don't want to start over. I'm gonna keep going. So I guess I have to start over. Okay. So tag teams in their most common and basic form are just two fighters, your dynamic duo in writing. So two people would be the main focus of it. And there are, in wrestling, there are three-person variations of tag teams. And in those, the probably the most common one would be if you just were to add a valet or a manager. And so that would kind of be like, so say Batman and Robin. So Batman and Robin are the dynamic duo, and they fight crime together. But Alfred is generally at the Batcave, and he uses the supercomputer to pull up whatever information that Batman needs, and he also, helps maintain the mansion and the cave. So Alfred, even though I'm pretty sure Alfred can fight, but more than likely Alfred's not gonna, put on a bat suit and go out and help Batman outside. So there's three people in the group, but only two of them make up the actual tag team. And the other two three-person variations are when all three people do compete and fight, and one is kind of what they call the free bird rule in wrestling. So that's when you have three fighters that make up the tag team, and so only two of them can compete at one time, and they just kind of mix and match which two that there are. So a good example of that would be in the Harry Potter series. You have the trio, Harry, Ron, and Hermione, but there are several instances, like in the second book, where it was just Harry and Ron because Hermione was petrified, or at the end of the third book when Harry and Hermione had to go on without Ron because Ron was in the hospital, or in the seventh book when Ron left for a little while and so Harry and Hermione were by themselves. So even though there are three of them, there are several instances where there are only two of the three, and it kind of changes which two there are. So all three of them are a team, but as far as who's competing in the tag team, that changes on a case by case basis. And then the other variant of three fighters that make up a team is actually also seen in Harry Potter with Draco Malfoy and Crabbe and Goyle. So usually you see the three of them together, but I mean, we all know that Malfoy is the leader, he's the superior one to the other two. So Malfoy would be a singles competitor if Harry Potter were to be wrestling. And then Crabbe and Goyle would be the tag team. Now, the reason that that counts as a tag team is because pretty much only Crabbe and Goyle will ever team together. But if for whatever reason, in extreme cases like an injury or storyline or whatever, there would be instances where it would just be the two of them. And I believe that happened in the movies for Harry Potter because one of the actors got in trouble or whatever, and then so they replaced him with Blaze, that black guy. So, for in most cases, because Blaze never spoke that I'm aware, so Malfoy and either Crabbe or Goyle, I don't remember which one got replaced, but yeah, so for most of the movies and in all of the books, it was the three of them, like Crabbe and Goyle together. But then towards the end of the movies, one of them was mysteriously just kind of quietly taken out and never spoken of, and then so it was just the two. The point is, for all four variants of tag teams, basically they're a tag team because only two people are actively competing at that point in time. So, and naturally, it doesn't have to just be fighting. It's whatever you're writing in your story. As long as two people are doing it and they're on the same side of the conflict, they could be considered a tag team for the point of what we're talking about. And now we're going to talk about the origin. Tag teams basically tend to follow roughly the same four origin stories. They're either going to be family and friends, so your brothers, your cousins, grew up together, went to the same school, father, son, whatever. So basically, they have a bond of some sort, and so that's why they're together. And then you can also have two people that have the same or similar fighting style, so they would have like the same moves, or they'll both be fast, or both be big and strong guys, or basically they you have two of the same style. So that's kind of like a bigger is better and more. So it's like, okay, you have to fight one of these guys. Now you have to fight two of these guys. And then the other version is complementary style, which is different from similar. So instead of them both being big or they're both being fast, one will be big and one will be fast. So it's like, okay, one is slow and strong, the other one is fast and weak. So basically, if you can outrun the big guy, but you can't outrun the fast guy, so they complement each other. So they have different styles, but they're able to help each other succeed by focusing on what they are good at individually. And then the last one that I can think of is basically where two people are forced to work together, and in some cases they don't like each other, but either an authority figure has placed them together, they have a common goal or enemy, or they have been put together by some kind of random lottery of some kind. And that one, like if a teacher puts assigns everyone up to work in pairs for a group project, you want to be paired with your best friend in the class, or you want to be paired with somebody that you know is going to get an A. But if they put you with someone that you don't get along with or don't like or whatever, but now it's like, well, you still got to get this grade. So that's sort of kind of how that works. All right. So, how do we use them? Okay. So, to use them in our writing, there's roughly three ways that you utilize a tag team in wrestling and in writing. And two of these, okay, so one is to make both of your characters look good. And you do that by having both of them be successful at whatever it is they're doing in your story. So if they're solving crimes, then they need to be both successfully doing that. If they're doing magic, then they both need to be successful at defeating evil or doing whatever they do. If they're playing basketball, football, or going to the school spelling bee, whatever it is that the characters in your story are doing, that there are two of them, because we're doing dynamic duo writing, they have to both win and keep winning to build up as credible, so that way when they go on to face whatever is waiting for them at the end of the book, it will be a believable victory. Now, the other way to go about this is to have, basically, you put two people together, two characters together, but your goal is to only make one of them look good. So one member is going to be stronger than the other. When things go wrong, it will typically be because of the lesser member, and then the strong member has an excuse to lose. Now, I can think of a couple examples of this, and I don't want to diss anybody's favorite characters or whatever, but some decent examples of this are kind of like Goku and Krillin from Dragon Ball. Because, I mean, I'm pretty sure Krillin has died at least three. I mean, Goku's died a couple times too, but Goku, he saves the world. And pretty much whenever somebody shows up, the first thing they do is kill Krillin, and then that is meant to show that they are serious and that they are a deadly threat and that they will kill the good guys or whatever. So Krillin kind of has that kind of sacrificial thing going on where he just dies a lot. And or in Yu-Gi-Oh, like Yugi was the king of games and Joey was his best friend. And I mean, Joey got better as the series went along, but in the beginning, like Joey was not that good. He only had like two magic cards in his whole deck. And whenever they did have to have matches that duels that were against two people or whatever, Joey would make the mistake or whatever. So you can build both characters up, but the point of the duo is to make one of them come out far superior, basically. And then the last way you can use a tag team is to basically just to job them out. They're gonna never hardly be successful. They're gonna lose a lot. Basically, it's like Jesse and James from Team Rocket in Pokemon. So, I mean, they're popular and people like them and they're funny or whatever, but when they show up, they do their entire theme song, start to finish, every single time, and they're just so confident that they're finally going to get away with Pikachu, but we know they're not. And so they are pretty much like the most incompetent members of Team Rocket, but we like them. So win or lose doesn't have anything to do, I guess, with how the fans of your work react to those characters, but you basically, when you put two characters together and you figured out why they're together, and now you've also figured out what is the end goal, how do you want them to be seen in the eyes of your reader. So that is basically what is covered by how you utilize them. So to sum all that up, you want to have a competent or successful pairing. You want to have the person that you're trying to make look good do all of the work, or if you are having them to just serve as fodder for other characters, then they're going to rarely be successful. But when they're facing a new threat, you can demonstrate the enemy's power on them without having to damage the credibility of the characters that you're focusing on. So if some new evil shows up and you have a dynamic duo that is competent and successful, then you're probably going to want to have another character that you can sacrifice to make the bad guy look good without having to make the bad guys look weak. But if you have the one member be stronger version, then you can just sacrifice the weaker member. Um, so okay. So to wrap all that up, you want to figure out who you're grouping together when you making your characters. Is it going to be just a plain dynamic duo, or is it going to be a trio that often has to act as a pair, or a pair that is always a duo but they have a third member that they hang around with a lot? Then you have to figure out why they're together. Are they friends? Are they coworkers? Are they strangers? Are they both heading in the same direction? Do they both want the same thing? Do they have something in common? Do they mutually benefit each other? These are things you need to know. Then you have to figure out what you want them to accomplish in the world of your story, but also think about how you want them to be viewed in the eyes of the reader. So do you want both members of your duo to look great, or do you want to build one to eventually be more powerful than the other? Or are they there just to take bullets for other characters? A successful team does not have to be undefeated. Your characters can fail and still be credible as long as they win more often than they lose, and when they do lose, they have a decent reason. So if you have that always successful pairing and they lose because this is a new enemy unlike anything they've ever faced before, or they failed because there was just information that they didn't know, or because the bad guys got the drop on them, anything like that. But if you are doing the version where you're basically trying to get just one of your characters over at the expense of the other one, then they can lose a bit more often, but just make sure that whenever they do lose, it tends to be the fault of the lesser character. Okay, so that is tag team wrestling and how it can sort of be translated into the world of fiction and literature when you are writing about any two characters that are working together for whatever reason. I hope you found this to be kind of insightful and helpful, give you something to think about. If you like the video, like and subscribe because I'm hopefully going to be making more of these. And in the comments, if you did like wrestling, or if you still do, then you put your favorite tag team in the comments. Or if you are just in this for the writing, what is your, I guess, your favorite duo in a book? Okay, that way we all can see and have better examples than the ones that I gave. All right, thank you so much for watching my video, and I will see you next time.